So I've just finished one of my regular presentations, and the subject today was who inspires me. With that in mind, I thought I would post this short video because in every community there are unsung heroes who inspire the people around them. I want to introduce you to a charity called Mama. Mothers Against Murder and Aggression. Do you remember the tragic and horrific case of a young boy called Jamie Bolger? He was a young person who was tortured and unfortunately met an untimely death due to the actions of a couple of arseholes. It was one of those cases where you could easily argue for the return of the death penalty, and at the time the nation was horrified. And like all situations like this, we normally go back to our normal lives after a few days. But in the case of two ladies in London, Jamie Bolger ignited the fire in their belly to make a huge difference. Outraged by this senseless murder, they decided to set up a charity to support the families and friends of murder victims. With no previous experience, two mothers pulled up their sleeves and started the process of changing lives everywhere. By the time I met Lynn Costello and Dee Edwards, their charity was making positive waves across the country. I was taken back by their determination and sense of urgency. Remember, these ladies set up a charity not through personal grief like so many people do, but through a desire to help others and comfort them at the most difficult time of their lives. My initial meeting with the ladies was off the back of the high-profile murder of Ben Kinsella. You might remember Ben. He was a brother of the ex-EastEnders star and was all over the news. Mama wanted to create an educational response to the knife crime panic of the time, instead of just listening to the ministers make hollow promises, which was a thing of the day. Within just a few weeks, Lynn and Dee had signed me up, arranged a meeting in Portcullis House where all of the ministers do their business, and set up a huge anti-knife march through London. I remember feeling a little lazy around them as they were on fire and determined to change things quickly. Just a few days before the Hyde Park March, in which thousands of people took to the streets to demand change in the way we deal with knife offenders, I found myself in Portcullis House with Lynn and a couple of what can be described as flaky ministers, Tony McNulty and Vernon Coker. For the first time, I'd actually got to hear the promises in person and watch their fake body language, and what can only be described as bullshit rhetoric that comes from this level of society. I left the meeting frustrated and irate at the complete lack of urgency displayed, and yet Lynn took it all in her stride and simply said, "This is what we're up against." On the day of the march through London, I witnessed many emotions, especially from those who had lost a young member of their family. But my overriding memory was the amount of respect that was driven towards Lynn and Dee. Two women that said, "Enough is enough," and over many years had grieved, supported and educated hundreds of families and community members everywhere. There was no political or religious driving force, just pure humanity and a sense of doing the right thing. For this reason, Lynn and Dee are and always will be my unsung heroes. They have inspired me to do more. Question is, who are your unsung heroes?